Hello, I am Misa, also known as Sita Yoda Misa. I'm a daywalker vampire VTuber that streams over on Twitch, and I'm here today with my first guide tutorial that you guys have asked for. A lot of you have been asking, how do I get into VTubing if I don't know where to start and I don't really have the money to drop for an expensive model? Well, today's your day. I'm going to go over 3 cost-effective ways that you can get into VTubing if you're interested, and you can go ahead and explore these and find which works for you. I want to start off with the first. You don't need to drop a lot of money for an expensive model to become a VTuber. In fact, I'd highly not suggest it. I didn't do that, and a lot of other people didn't do that either. It makes more sense to go with a more cost-effective way. That way you can put your feet in the water, see if you actually like streaming, see if it's something for you, see if it actually works for your life schedule. For those that deal with maybe shyness and anxiety, is it something that you can actually stick with, or if you have health concerns, or just the fact that it's an oversaturated market. You just don't know until you try. There's a lot of people that jumped into it and then they disappeared. So you don't want to drop a whole lot of money into something and then maybe it doesn't work out for you. So there are very cost-effective ways that are still effective, they're still valid, you're still VTubers, but they're a way to not break the bank and to get into it and test the waters before you go on and spend money on an expensive model. Because I would highly suggest that you try one of these. So we're going to be going over PNGtubing, VRoad tubing, as well as pre-made model tubing. All 3 are valid. There's nothing wrong with any of them. I've done, 2 out of the 3 of them, and they've been fine. And so I know sometimes people look at one and they don't think that it's valid, but at the end of the day, there are PNGtubers out there that have thousands of followers and they have many concurrent viewers and they do well. Same thing for VRoid VTubers and people that have pre-made models. If you are a good entertainer, then it doesn't matter what you use. At the end of the day, when it comes to streaming, it is really about you and the content that you provide, and not necessarily your model. Your model is a bonus. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over the first one, which is PNGtuber, and I'm going to show you probably the most cost-effective way to get into it, and then you can choose whether or not you want to go beyond that. So let's take a look at piccrew, which is honestly free. It's a free way to do it. Alright, so the first one that I would like to suggest is PNGtuber, and if you're just totally I don't know where to start, you could go to piccrew.me, piccrew.me, and you come to this site where you can essentially find different templates of creating your own OC. There's also another good way if you want an original character at some point. You can go in here and kind of design it here. You just have to find the different types of templates and play around with it. And you can come up with, I guess you could call a reference for an original character. I'm going to stop right there and say, I know there are some people that want to come in, they have their original character in mind, and that's why they just want to do a model because they want to be their own original character and they don't want to deal with Vroids or pre-made models and all that sort of stuff. And I would say at the end of the day, you don't know what you're getting into if you haven't streamed before, you haven't VTubed, and the fact that it's a very, like I said, an oversaturated market. Your life schedule and whether or not you can fit streaming in and how much it's going to take out of you, what kind of progression you're going to make, you just don't know. And honestly, this will even help you. Even if at the end of the day you're going to get a model, this will help you, because I was like that. I still started off with a pre-made model while mine was being made to help me gain some sort of backing before I actually debuted, and it helped me. So even if you're like, I am headstrong on my original character, it doesn't hurt to start off with something that's maybe a little bit similar, a little bit off, and then work from that so that you can build some hype around yourself before you go out and actually debut. So this is an easy way, along with going to something like Fiverr or finding an artist on Twitter that makes original art. You can give them some ideas or some references and they can create it. Now PNGtuber is just that. It's a PNG, which is an image. It's an image that you're going to have on the screen, and using the different settings from the reactive programs such as Fuji, it'll bounce or it'll light up and it'll darken when you're talking and not talking. So you can use rather an image that you had an artist create for you, Or if you're just like, I really don't know, you can come to piccrew over here and you could create a character. So for example, let's say we go to something like this. So let's say we go to this one because it looks interesting. We're going to click on it, and here you see you'll be able to adjust how the character looks, you know, their eyes, their eye shape, different things, their eyebrows, and what's going to be most important is things like the mouth, you know, because if you want to do a PNG, the ideal is you'll have two. So you want to go in here and do two, one with the mouth open, and then one with the mouth closed, so that when you're not talking, it'll have the mouth closed, and then when you're talking, it has the mouth open. But you can find many different types of styles, and ones that can go from having wings and ears and all this sort of stuff. There's many different templates here. The only thing to keep in mind is try to do two. So create one with a mouth open style, and then go back, keeping it the same, and then just go to the mouth and have the mouth closed. So open and close, two pictures, and that will be your PNG. You could do the same thing if you're you are commissioning an artist. You try to have one with the mouth open and the mouth closed, so that way when you're talking, it gives sort of like you know, a little bit of an interactiveness in that your character is actually speaking and talking. So you could use that. Now, if for some reason you want to go a little bit beyond, you can find artists that will actually do animated PNGs, and this is what I use when I am collaborating with people, and that's where it's a little bit more reactive, it's a little bit more entertaining, because your character will actually have a breathing animation, blinking animation, and then when you talk, it's just going to have a loop like on the right side where it looks like it's talking. It's not going to match your mouth movements, but it's going to give the illusion of it. So there are different tiers to PNG, you know, ranging from just a flat image where there's just one image that lights up and doesn't light up, to mouth open, mouth closed, to animated PNGs where they kind of have a little bit more life to them. You know, these, like for this one, for me, cost around $30 to $40, so it's not a huge investment, but it does bring a little bit more life into your character if you're interested. Speaking of which, this right here is the site called Fugitech, FUGI.TECH, and this is what a lot of people use for their PNGtuber. You go into this site, you have to be in Discord and in a voice chat channel. You'll put in your picture. You usually have your inactive image, that's when you're not talking, and then your speaking image when you're talking. And then you'll have a link. You'll take that link, you'll put it in as a browser, you'll put it in as a source onto your OBS system, or if you're guesting on somebody, you'll give them that link, and then this will appear on screen as you're streaming. So you could use Fuji as a way to be a PNGtuber. So again, you could use piccrew, if that could be your first start of just kind of developing something, or you can find an artist who can draw an image for you. But it's very valid. Like I said, there are a lot of people out there that are PNGtubers and do very well. And it's a good placeholder for building up an audience and seeing whether or not you really like this. And then, you know, if you're finding success or you're really enjoying it, then you can go on and commission somebody to make a model for you. Let's go ahead and look at the next option. Alright, so the next option is if you do want a model and you do want something that is, you know, your original character, you can always do VRoad Studio. This is a website, go type in VRoad Studio, and it's basically a 3D model. They are a little bit more limited in a way. They have a little bit of limited movements and things like that. So they aren't the preferred versus an L2D model, but again, you can do this by yourself. You can literally design this character yourself for free. You can pay somebody to do a little bit more higher designed one, but again, you can go into VRoad Studio, you can find tutorials on how to actually, you know, edit this to however you want, but you can create your own. There's so many people that start off with VRoids. They are very legit. Like I said, there are a lot of people that are VRoid VTubers and they have a lot of followers and, you know, concurrent viewers. So again, it's a legit way to start. And you don't have to pay any money if you just go through the tutorials and you figure it out. Again, you can take a look here. It is an actual model. You can customize it however you want, as the website says, you know, with clothes, with hair, with eyes, all that sort of stuff. I believe there's also a shop that you can go into to buy different clothes and different assets for your VRoid model as well. So it's a program that you'd have to download, and you would have a model. So if you're one that wants a model, so you have VRoad Hub here, where you can go in and you can buy different assets for your VRoad. But again, it is an actual model. So if you're like, nope, I want a model, then you could use VRoad. You can go in, you could design your own, and that you could use that, and you are actually using a full model that's moving. Now, it's not going to have the same sort of, I would say, true depth of movement and mouth movement and things like that as an L2D character, because some riggers are just really, really good, and there's things like VBridger and iPhone tracking that L2D models can have that may be a little bit more advanced. But you can find VRoid models that are pretty advanced, but those are generally going to be ones that rather you have a really good knowledge on editing yourself, or you're paying somebody for that. Because I have seen people that do have really, really nicely rigged and tracked VRoid models, but I know they rather spend a lot of time and figured out how to do it, or they got somebody to do it for it. So that's an option as well. Just keep in mind, some of them, if you're starting off from scratch and you're doing it yourself, it may be a little bit of a clunky in terms of the movements and things like that, but it's still your character. You designed it, and at the end of the day, if your content is good, it doesn't matter. People still enjoy it, and it's a great placeholder if it's something that you want to move on to, rather a more advanced VRoid model or an advanced 3D model or a 2D. It doesn't matter. Honestly, 2D, 3D, they're all great. It all comes down to the content that you make, so make it your own. But if you are, really dead set on, I want my original character and how it looks, then you could use VRoid, because you can design it to make it look as close as it can be to the character that you want. So that is a very good option as well. All right, now let's take a look at the final cost-effective option, which would be Nijima. All right, so here we have the website Nijima, Nizima. As you can see, well, you can't see on your screen, but when you go to the site, it's going to ask you, do you want to translate the page? Just click translate, and it will translate it for you in English. It is a Japanese site. The only thing that I've encountered on this one is that you can't use your debit card. You do have to use a credit card when you are purchasing it, because it is an overseas transaction. But other than that, it was fine. This is where I personally started off. I went on to Nijima. Nijima sells pre-made as well as one-off models. And what pre-made means is basically it's a model that somebody created, they put on the site, anybody can download it and use it. So multiple people can have that. And I'm pretty sure you've come across models where you've seen people with the same model, or they look very similar, like maybe they have different hair or clothes, but it's clearly the same model. Those are called pre-made models. They're models that were made to be bought for a very cheap price for people to jump into VTubing using an L2D model and not have to break the bank. I use that myself, and I had no problems with it. I enjoyed it. It let me learn using the L2D software and everything like that, and use the different programs that come along with it without having an expensive model. I just found something that was closest to my concept and then work from there. Again, what you need to do is you need to figure out how much yen is in your currency, so that when you're going through the search, you can put it to whatever's the max amount of money that you're willing to pay. And then you go ahead and you search through themes. Now, I found the best way to do this is to go into Google Translate. So for example, for me, I wanted a vampire, but I already knew the word was Kyuketsuki. So I got Kyuketsuki, typed it into the search, even if it was in English. And then that's actually going to give you a little bit, to me, I found it to be a little bit more accurate in terms of what they have, but you could do anything. So I'm going to go ahead and type in, let's say, Oni, okay? Let's say we want something demon-like, so we'll type in Oni. And what it's going to do is it's going to search through, and this is going to be assets, these are going to be models, clothes, all that sort of stuff. So you do want to come over here, and here's where you can put in your range. So put in the maximum yen you want. You could look in, is it a limited items? That means that you could buy a model, but they only sell it once. So that means you'd be the only one with that model, but it is going to cost a couple $100 usually. So you could use different things to kind of, like, we want live 2D, so make sure that you click live 2D. Whatever is your maximum amount of yen that you're willing to spend, and then you go ahead and you do a search. The one thing you do want to keep in mind is when you do find a model, you want to make sure that it actually says that it is for public use. You will find some on here that will say that you can't use it for commercial use or any sort of thing. It was just like a tutorial thing that somebody posted to show their showcase. So you do want to read into those. All right. So what I went and did is I just put in Oni actually in Japanese just because it will come out faster. And you're going to see like 100,000 yen is quite expensive. This is very expensive, but you can see it says 1 out of 1, meaning like this is one model. This is a one out. This would be your original model in a sense because they're not selling it again. A lot of people, a lot of riggers and L2D artists will just create a model and then just sell a one-off model. So they'll do that. So they can be expensive. So like for example, this one's probably in dollars around $700, which is honestly around what you might expect for a pretty good rig, these mid-tier range model. So, but then you have something like you have 35,000, which is around 300. So you want to keep in mind what I probably would stick around. So for me, I'm in dollars. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 4,000 yen because that's about $30. Let's say I'm willing to pay that much. Okay. It's going to pop up for me different ones that are around that price range. And I could see, okay, so here's a general purpose model, Oniko. So I can click here. It shows me, okay, so it has different color variations. Okay, we got boy and we have girl. Looks like it has different expressions. So we can see that. And then some of them will have even showcases. Let's look at this one. Okay, so we can see the movement. It's definitely nicely moving. The rigging's not bad. It's got the side to side. And the blinking, the smiling, the mouth movements. You see that the mouth is like a blue color. Right, so it has a toggle for what looks to be like drums. Or is that, I don't know if that's drums or if that's music. Oh, it's music. Okay, so it's like speakers. And then of course you have different color variations and gender. But a lot of them, they'll give you showcases so you can see what the model looks like and if it has toggles. And then what you want to go down here is to look what it says. General purpose model is going to mean that it could be used for anything. But sometimes they will say down here whether or not it is locked to you can't use it or not. So let's go ahead and try now. Let's say we don't like that one. But maybe we like, oh, look at this one. This one's 2,000 yen, which is like probably more around so $15. Okay, we can see he's got a hoodie toggle. We can see the different looks here. Again, we have showcase. We can see the movement of the rigging. We can see the mouth movements, body movements, angles. So again, you could see if this is, okay, do I like this style of rigging and movement? Do I like what this model looks like? You could use these showcase. Okay, we can see there's a toggle for a hoodie. So if you like that kind of thing. And you're showing off the movement. I'm not going to show them all off, but again, it's pretty good. Definitely click down here where it says permission to use, and it'll say free to use it for apps, GameWorks, videos, VTuber activities. The author's name does not need to be noted. Okay, copyrights. Basically, usually what they're going to say is we cannot accept returns. You can't redistribute it, and you can't put a self-mark. So basically, a lot of these are going to say you can use it for VTubing, you just can't like edit it or resell it. But make sure it is, this one's in Japanese here, where it says permissions to use, or if you just see Japanese letters, click it, and it's going to let you know. Make sure that the permission to use is there. You could check them out, and if you like the particular model, you'd add to your cart, and like I said, use a credit card to buy. It'll give you the live 2D model folder, which you then would take and you would put it into your VTube Studio, the folders there with all your different models, and then you have a model to use. So yeah, that's Nijima. You can find other ones like on Fiverr sometimes, or on Twitter. Sometimes people are selling their old ones. But I find that this one seems to be really good because number one, it's a legit site. It's a legit site. I've used it myself. I have friends that have used this one. These are actual models, and sometimes you'll see, you know, these models all around, and I haven't been scammed by them versus like just a random person on Twitter. So I will vouch for Nijima. I think that is very good. And it has a breadth of models on there depending on how much you want to spend. Even if you want to spend $700, right? But you don't want to spend the sometimes several months it takes waiting for a model to be made. You can go on here and see if somebody already has a pre-made that fits what you want. There's only one of them available, and you can buy it right there. Just keep in mind that with pre-mades, there are going to be other people using that model, so you might see it around on TikTok, or you might see other Twitch channels with it. I will say I experienced that when I used my model, but it never bothered me. I never got anybody saying like, oh wow, you're a copycat or anything like that, because most people know. They're familiar with public models, and they know that it's just something that multiple people can use, and what they're going to be looking at is your content and whether or not are you different from that other person that has the same model as you. So if you're worried about that, I would say don't worry about it, don't sweat it. I didn't. Yes, sometimes people be like, oh hey, I saw you on TikTok, you know, and it was this, but it was never like, wow, you're copying this person or vice versa. It's just more of, it's a public model, other people are going to use it, and you just have to be comfortable with it. If you're not, then you do have to pay a little bit more for a model that is a one-off model, which like I said, you can do here on Nijima. That's up to you what you want to do. So hopefully this guide kind of helps you give you an idea of what to do and how you can jump into VTubing if you're not sure and you're just like, wow, what do I do? Before you go into that whole search of searching for L2D artists and riggers and all that sort of stuff, because that process takes a long time to find the artists, to get on their waiting list, for the stuff to be actually created and rigged. It can take months. And I would say instead of taking all that time while you're waiting for them created, go with one of these first and learn how to stream, so that when you do have your debut, you're not debuting and you have no clue what you're doing. If you are coming in brand new, you have an idea of how the stuff works to some degree, and maybe you already have somewhat of a following behind you. You're using Twitter and TikTok and all those other kind of things to kind of promote yourself already. But these are all valid ways to go into VTubing and to experience it, to see if you like it, if you want to actually, invest that money into something more expensive. That's up to you, but these are just great ways. All three of them are valid. Whether you go with VRoad and make your own through those tutorials, whether you do a PNG, you have an artist make one, or you make your own in piccrew, or you go on Nijima and you just get your own live 2D model and start from there, and you're already live 2D. It's up to you. They're all valid. They're all great. There's nothing wrong with any of them, and they will definitely help you on your journey. And I highly suggest these first, just because, like I said, you never know if you're going to enjoy it. I remember when I started off, there were several people that, they started off around the same time as me. I'm going to follow them and interact with them on like Twitter or watch their streams, and then bam, they were gone. They didn't even graduate. They just disappeared. So I've seen that a lot. A lot of people don't realize how much time investment it can be. Some people don't realize how much drama sometimes there could be, or some just get depressed sometimes because they don't have a lot of viewers or things like that, or interactions in their streams, and so they end up leaving. And so I would hope, at least for the people that I know and that are interested in, I would hate for you to invest a whole lot of money into something expensive and then be one of those people that, this doesn't work for me and I'm going to, stop doing it, and I spent all this money on something that isn't going to go to use. So this is a better option. Try it out, learn if you like it, and then if you like it, then yeah, you can invest in that model and take it further. And I hope that you guys can. I hope that you guys do. But I think this is just a safe way, safe alternative, because I don't know, I'm pretty sure some of you are going to have to invest in a computer or invest in upgrading your computer parts, because it does require, some decent computer power in order to VTube, especially if you're going with a model. Your computer running OBS, running something like VRoad Studio, and running a game at once uses a lot on a computer. So that might be an investment that you have to consider as well. So this is like an easy way if you have to also invest on the computer side, where you don't have to invest too much on the model side or the PNG side or the Vroid side. You can go in it, low cost, and then see if you like it. And if you're having fun with it and you can save up and you can afford it, then by all means go ahead, grab that model and enjoy VTubing. I hope this tutorial helped you in some way. Maybe it inspired you in some way. And if you have any questions, you can drop them down below, or you can find me on my Discord or on my Twitter or on my streams. It doesn't matter, and you can ask follow-up questions. I like helping those that are starting out or just have questions and want help, because I like to see other people succeed. So I hope you have a wonderful day, and hope this was very useful for you. See you later. Yeah.